Welcome to the Sheridan Report, brought to you by MyBookie.Ag. Go to MyBookie.Ag through the GruelyTruth.net by clicking the link at the top of the GruelyTruth.net page. It will give you up to a $1,000 cashback bonus to bet on the national championship game tonight if you want, or baseball, hockey, myriad of many things you can bet on. If you put in $2,000, you'll have $3,000 to play with. If you go through the GruelyTruth.net link with MyBookie.Ag. Excuse me. I'm your co-host for the Sheridan Report, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in Bobby Sheridan. How you doing, Bobby?
I'm doing good, Mike. You are the host of any show that you are on the Grilling Truth Network.
Care. I don't care what you call me.
But just don't call you late for dinner, right?
Yeah. All right. I know you've got a top play, Major League Baseball, that starts here in about 20 minutes. You want to go ahead and get on that?
I do, and it's going to be a not as popular top play as what the betting public's doing with this game right now. I like the Pirates in this game against the Cubs. It starts at 11:20 Pacific. It's a morning game here coming up, and the Cubs opened up like $1.18, something like that, and it's up to $1.40. I've got it at 137 now on mine, and so that means you get a nice price on Pittsburgh at plus $1.27, $1.30, something like that. And I liked it at plus $1.10. What you've got going on here is you've got basically the Pirates. I believe, I say there's two games in every game. There's the first game that has a starting pitching matchup. Then there's the bullpen matchup, because every one of these games you have to win almost twice, unless you build up a big early lead. And the Pirates are well situated to win both of these games within this game. Taillon is developing into one of the premier right-handed pitchers in baseball. He's coming off a 7-inning, 85-pitch, one-run performance against the Cardinals, who I rank their offense a little bit better than the Cubs, and he just dominated them and came away with a no decision as the bullpen failed to hold that game. But the Pirates, I believe, with Taillon over Lester, have the starting pitching edge and a huge edge on the back end of this game with their bullpen over the Cubs bullpen, which we all know has been horrible. So I don't really understand the line movement in this game. I think maybe the Cubs with the home opener are getting a little bit of more attention than they should, but I like the Pirates this morning at 11:20.
All right, Bobby, what else you got baseball-wise for today?
What else I got is I got two other really good straight plays, and I have a nice three-team parlay. We're going for back-to-back three-teamers, and I'll finish with that. So the next two straight plays, we have another top play, and that we'll start the day off with a winner, and we'll end the day off. And the Angels over the Brewers, it's kind of much the same. You notice we're betting against Milwaukee and the Cubs today. They're coming off a big series this weekend where that's a big rivalry, and they used a lot of pitchers in that series, and there were a lot of runs scored, and both teams kind of venture off into new series, and I think they're both at disadvantages today. The Angels game in Anaheim, the Angels are quietly building up a nice bullpen. They are one of the better bullpens in the league to start the year here, and I don't know that I really could have said that before the year started, but we're getting new reads, we're getting new takes, and the Angel bullpen is going to keep them right in this game. And if you take away Hader, who was the Brewers closer, I think the rest of the pen really favors the Angels, so they'll be well equipped in Game 2 of that little two-part game. And in the starting role, I like Cahill. He's a ground ball pitcher, and I think he'll match up real well against the Brewers. So I believe that the Angels have a good chance to win that side of the pitching matchup. And remember too that when the team has a dominant closer on the road, they will not use him in the ninth inning of a tie game. So I think Hader's stock might be a little bit down in this game, being on the road in a game that I expect to be lower scoring. I think the Angels win a pitching matchup here. And the other straight wager I have today is I got the Cardinals over the Dodgers. I think anything from even to a plus will be a nice home play on the Cardinals today over the Dodgers. The Dodger offense is getting a lot of accolades, and it's going to start showing up in their prices if it hasn't already. And I think there's some bet against spots here in the right spot. So I think Cardinals at home in this spot is good. Dodgers played the late game last night and traveled into St. Louis, and Ryu's going to have to be very, very good to get the win today, and I'll bet against that. So I like the Cardinals. So there's our three straight plays, Mike, and let me give you the three-teamer. We won't go into it too much, but I'll tell you the payoff on it. The three-teamer is all-night action. Phillies at 4:05, Rockies at 5:40, and the Giants with Bumgarner will finish this thing off at 6:45. Phillies, Rockies, Giants. That $100 parlay pays $467, and it really paid off yesterday for us because it covered a lot of our, of our straight action, which didn't come through yesterday, but the three-team parlay covered it. And today's will make you a big winner because we're not going to. Those straight plays are going to come through. So it's a big day in the MLB today, Mike.
All right, and of course, it's a big day for college basketball as the penultimate game tonight, the Texas Tech Red Raiders against the Virginia Cavaliers. The first time either team has played for the national championship. Who do you like here, Bobby?
I like Texas Tech, and I can't make them a top play. I would like to write it out, but I'm not going to make them a top play. But I do definitely favor them. I think they're the games that they have won getting to this spot have been just so impressive. And I think that the ACC, albeit I'm not going to call it overrated, it is the best conference in the country this year, I think, from top to bottom, and they did have three very strong teams. I think Virginia is, I think they've been a bit lucky to get here. The two games that they won and back-to-back, the way they won those is, you can call it destiny. I don't know. I just think Texas Tech has outplayed them on the road here to the finals, and Virginia probably shouldn't be here. I think both of the last two teams feel like they had them beat. I think they're a good team. They're a solid team. I think Bennett is a good coach, a solid coach, but I think Texas Tech has the great factor. I think they're a great team, Mike, and I think Beard is a great coach. And so I think they're going to win this. I think they're going to finish this off. I'll tell you what I said before the semifinals. I like Mooney. I think he is the guiding force of this thing. I said it before the semis, and I was right. He was the difference in that game, and I think he'll be the difference tonight. And they call him the professor because he is a grad transfer student, older than the other players on the team, and he came over, and they kind of look up to him as like their teacher. He's got all the answers. He's got the poise and the control. And I just was, like, as we were saying on our special show that we did on Saturday night, this last Saturday night, can you imagine a team that's going to the finals and is going to maybe win this thing tonight, having a grad transfer up on the podium there with Beard after the semifinal? I mean, it's almost unbelievable what he's done to that team, and it's obviously what they needed. And I think if they get anything out of Owens tonight at all, and I do think he'll go, I think they'll win this ball game. So I like Texas Tech.
Yeah, I like Texas Tech. I've liked them from the start. So we'll see how it plays out tonight. Anything else, Bobby?
No, that's it. Just a quick blurb. The Early Risers Club is in full action this week with the major golf tournament starting later in the week, and with ATP is back in force with two tournaments. And we started out the day already with a winner. We had a loser, but we had a winner at plus 145. So overall, you put 100 on each, you make $45 already to start your Mondays. So be on the lookout for the ATPs and later on in the week for the PGA matchups, because they've all been making profit. So keep an eye on those.
All right. Sounds good, Bobby. We're going to go to On This Day, and we're going to go back to 1974 right after a word from our sponsor.
Hi, I'm Mike Goodpasser from the Grueling Truth Sports Network, and I'm here with just one simple message. If you're watching the games, it's time to start making money. The Grueling Truth has recently partnered with MyBookie.Ag, an industry-leading sportsbook website, who reminds you that where you bet is just as important as who you're betting on, and that's why the Grueling Truth urges you to check out MyBookie.Ag. In addition to the usual thousands of odds, money lines, proposition bets, and futures offered on MyBookie.Ag daily, they also have in-game live betting and a mobile site that makes wagering on the go easier than ever. So join now, and MyBookie will give you up to a free $1,000 cash bonus on your first deposit. Just enter promo code TGT50, that's TGT50, to take advantage of this offer. You can also go to thegruelingtruth.net, click the banner at the top of the page for MyBookie.Ag, and also get the same benefit and the same $1,000 free cash bonus on your first deposit. So visit MyBookie.Ag, courtesy of the Grueling Truth, and enjoy winning today. MyBookie.Ag. You play, you win, you get paid.
All right, I'm Mike Goodpastor back here with Bobby Sheridan from the Sheridan Report. What do we got on this day, Bobby?
Hey, on this day, 1974, Hank Aaron hit number 715. He broke Babe Ruth's record on this day in Atlanta. Go away with it, Mike.
All right, so Henry Aaron finished the 1973 season one shy of Babe Ruth's 714 record, iconic 714 home run record. He waited all winter for his appointment with Destiny, and there was a lot of racist overtones and stuff that went on here, of course, because Babe Ruth was white and Hank Aaron was black. And in workmanlike fashion, he quickly got rid of this. And, I mean, the thing that's impressive here is he tied it at 714 at Riverfront Stadium, I think April 4th or April 5th. And then he sits out game 2, which I know I'm from the Cincinnati area, pissed off a lot of Reds fans. He came back, played game 3, went 0-3 on April the 7th against the Reds, and it set the stage for the home opener for the Braves. The Braves, at the time, were, not a great team. The Dodgers were, because the Dodgers would go on in 1974 to win the NLCS. They had Steve Garvey, who would go on. I think Steve Garvey was the MVP that year. And the first bat in Atlanta, Fulton County Stadium, crowd's kind of restless. He draws a walk to lead off the bottom of the second inning. There was a sellout crowd of almost 54,000 people there. And Aaron, on the walk, would score on a double by Dusty Baker, which gave the Braves a 1-0 lead. Of course, Dusty Baker, just a year or two later, or 3 years later, would be a big part of the Dodgers making it to back-to-back World Series in 1977 and 78. The Dodgers went ahead in the game 3-1 in the top of the third inning, which was, I think, Steve Garvey, hit a home run in that game. I don't remember. Either that or a base hit drove it in. But they were down 3-1. I think Jim Wynn had a double on that also. Bottom of the fourth, though, Darrell Evans reaches on an error by Dodgers shortstop Bill Russell to lead off the inning. Aaron followed by hitting a 1-0 pitch from Downing over the left center field wall to tie the game and surpass the record. So really, he hit the 2 home runs in about 8 at-bats. And with the pressure of that situation, it shows you what kind of man Hank Aaron was, because with the racism, and I know we've all seen the documentaries and stuff where they showed the letters that were sent to him about lynching him if he broke Babe Ruth's record and all this crap. He just blocked it all out. And I think, in a nutshell, even though this is when he's past his prime, 73 he had a good season, but he dropped off from 74 on. But I think this shows in a nutshell just how great a player he was, because in the clutch, with all the pressure on, he was able to still concentrate and get done what he needed to get done. And that's what great players do. They come up in a situation like this, they block everything out, and they do what they need to do. And I think that's what made Hank Aaron so special.
Oh, man. I don't think it could be said any better. I think concentration and longevity and focus and consistency, those are all words that that he embodied. And he was, one of the greatest of all time, obviously. But you've also made a comment, Mike, and I never thought of it this way, but I completely agree. I heard you say this on one of the other shows that we did, that he was also maybe one of the most underrated players.
Because when people look at him, they just think of the home runs. But this is a guy that I think had over 3,700 base hits. So that puts him third behind, Cobb and Rose.
Yeah, and he never led the league in home runs. But he just always hit his 35 or 38 or 33, and he just did it forever. He just kept doing it. And he never really dropped off until 74, 75, and then 76 was just kind of a farewell year. But he was strong right up through 73, and what he had to deal with, I'm sure made the man. What he dealt with in 1954 and 55 made the man in 74, and he's an incredible guy. And if you see him now, still looks great. I don't know how old he is. He's probably in his 80s, but he still looks great, and special guy.
Yeah, and a couple other interesting things about the end of this game is Walter Alston brought in Mike Marshall. You remember Mike Marshall? And that
Oh
year,
yeah.
Mike Marshall had a record 106 appearances on the season, and Al Downing got the loss. But, there was a lot of interesting things about this game, and I think the thing that I found most interesting when I looked this game up, with the Braves leading 7-4 entering the eighth inning, Atlanta manager and future Hall of Famer was a big part of the 57 and 58 Braves that won one World Series, lost the other one to the New York Yankees. Eddie Matthews actually took Hank Aaron from the game in favor of Roland Office.
Was that for defensive reasons?
I assume. It doesn't really say. I would assume with Aaron's age, yeah. And if I remember right, Roland Office was a pretty good defensive player, had a lot of speed.
Yeah. I would think for defensive reasons, or to give him I don't know if he got like a big ovation leaving the field or what have you, but I think with the game 7-4, maybe he had just hit, so he wasn't going to have another at bat. Take him out for defense. I would guess, because I think at that time he was not a very good defensive player.
Yeah, and the other thing that was impressive about Aaron's career is he's still got records that still stand. I think his RBI record still stands, doesn't it? He had 2,297. And I think his total bases, which was 6,856, I think those are still big league records today.
Yeah, he just did it so long that it's been almost impossible for those, until we get now, guys like in the new era, the steroid era, that the numbers just really got wacko. So, I mean, a lot of those things could be broke, but yeah, I mean, he just did it so long and so consistently well that he just, oh wow, his records they're gonna be there forever.
Yeah, and the thing is this, still to this day, you don't see Barry Bonds at 756 shown that much, but you still see Hank Aaron's historic 715th home run, whether it was called by Braves announcer Milo Hamilton. I think wasn't he the Braves announcer then?
I believe so, yes.
And then the other call from the other side is the Dodgers, so it's Vin Scully. And Vin Scully is a guy that I can tell you this. Over the last 5 years, for the first 3 years of that, I bought the MLB package just so I would get Dodger home games with Vin Scully calling them. Because even if it was a game I didn't care about, he made me interested just because the sound of his voice.
Sound of his voice, and the stories he tells, and he took it right up to the end, doing all the great things that he had done for 5 years or 60 years that he did it. And what's interesting about that is you bought the package so you can get the Dodgers, and the people here in LA, half of the people couldn't even get the Dodgers, because if you buy the package, you're blacked out.
Yeah.
By the local. And then the local, the Dodgers got a new television station of their own with Spectrum, and they were not selling the rights to the companies like DirecTV and AT&T and those kind of places. So half of Los Angeles couldn't get the Dodgers. You had to go to a sports bar or something like that. And that was.
Do the Dodgers do that to try to get people to buy tickets?
Maybe. I don't know. I just think they wouldn't lower their prices, and then some of the other TV places wouldn't pay the amount that they were wanting just to add the Dodger channel. So, because it's its own channel. And so, it was kind of sad, not sad, but I mean, it's kind of interesting that the last couple of years, a lot of folks in Los Angeles didn't even get to hear Vin Scully. And I'll bet you a bunch of people were turning on the radio, because he would do a couple innings on the radio, and then he would do the full game on the TV. So it was, that's kind of cool that you said that, because you probably heard a lot more of him than I did the last few years.
Yeah, I love Vin Scully. I mean, Vin Scully, Kirk Gowdy, if they were doing the game, you knew it meant something. And I mean...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, Vin Scully was doing NFL football games also.
Yeah, and golf, I think. And wasn't he doing golf? I think he was doing golf tournaments. And, I would like to hear his call of the Aaron home run, because the only one that's in my memory is just the Braves call.
It's on YouTube.
I don't know that I've ever heard it. I'll pick it.
Yeah,
I'll get that.
It's definitely on YouTube. It's all over YouTube. So if you just punch in Hank Aaron 715, you'll get it.
Okay. And one thing I wanted to bring up too, and I watched the home run this morning, and as Aaron's rounding second base, you get these two clowns, jumping onto the field and patting him on the back. They didn't want to hurt him. They just wanted to be kind of part of the memory. And I think they were arrested, but those guys turned out to be lawyers.
No. So, they were right to stop him from doing that. You can't trust a lawyer.
No,
Hey, the cool thing about Vin Scully is, to get back to him, is I think he joined the Vin Scully is a guy that called Brooklyn Dodger games for like 7 years. He did them with Red Barber, and I think he joined it like somewhere between 1950 and 1953. And I know that I've got an old kinescope film of a 1959 Dodgers Cardinals game. Vin Scully's calling it. So, I could watch that from 1959, and I can go to 2017 and watch Vin Scully call a game, and it's just amazing. And I think he also called games at one point with Don Drysdale, and who was the guy in the 70s? Ross Porter.
Rick Monday. Oh, Ross Porter, yeah, and Rick Monday. Yeah, Ross Porter they called him Ross Stats Porter because he would have every stat under the sun, during his time on the broadcast. He would give you everything. He was great at that. And then Rick Monday, he was a big part of the broadcast, and Drysdale, and his passing was really sad. Do you know, Mike, how he died?
Who was that? Drysdale?
Yeah. Do you remember hearing
I
about
don't
that
remember,
at all?
to tell you the truth.
They found him in Montreal Expos. They found him in the hotel room. He was passed away in his bed. He didn't check out, to come to the meetings or come to the game or anything, and they went back to the room and he was dead.
Yeah.
That was kind of a sad way for a
great pitcher, too. Drysdale
way.
And Koufax. But, the other thing is, I'm pretty sure that Vin Scully was the one who called Dwight Clark's catch in the 1981 NFC Championship game also.
Oh, yes, he was. Yeah, good. Very good, Mike. Yeah, he was the one that called that. And another point about going back to Drysdale, I'm sure you know this, but just for some of the fans listening, his wife was probably the greatest women's basketball player of all time, Ann Myers.
Yeah.
Ann Myers Drysdale.
Yeah.
She actually had a tryout with the Pacers.
Yeah. I remember that. I think that was like 1980 or so, wasn't it?
Something like that, yes. Something around that time, and that was his wife, and Ann Myers Drysdale, and she's still around now, and she does a lot of great charitable causes. And she's been a really good carrying on his legacy and doing things for people. And so I know these kind of things just because I'm out here in the West Coast, and I see a lot of the articles, because of Don Drysdale.
Yeah, because I think Ann Myers played high school basketball in California. She was from out there, wasn't she?
I believe so, yes. I think she was, yeah.
And then I think she's done a lot of stuff with the WNBA also.
She's been huge in that, and just a great person. You bring up Dodger announcers, and then you brought up John Drysdale.
Well, I've got a crazy one for you, though, because actually there was no WNBA back then, but there was a startup league in 1978, I believe. It was called the Women's Professional Basketball League. She was actually the first player drafted, and I think they played for like 3 or 4 years. And she played for a team, I think it was called the Houston Angels. And then she got a shot at the NBA, but I think she was only like 5'9", 130. But she won the MVP or co-MVP of the Women's Basketball League, I think in 1980. But she was an outstanding basketball player. And from everything I read, because of course I'm a Pacer fan, I know she played at UCLA from like 75 through 79 or 75 through 78, something like that.
Yeah, she's All-American all 4 years. Man.
Yeah, she still, as of a few years ago, I know, still held the records for season steals, career block shots. She was a great player, and I remember, I think that she played summer league basketball with the Pacers, but I'm not sure. And I think she was on the 79 Pan Am team also that actually got upset in a gold medal game. But she signed like a $50,000 contract with the Pacers. And I think she was either summer league or she had a 3-day tryout with the team. But I think she's still, to this day, the only woman that ever did anything even remotely like that.
I think you're right. I don't know. This is around the time. It was just after the time that the Billie Jean King tennis thing, because that was in the mid-'70s. This is just after that, so I don't really know.
It was 1980. I'm pretty sure it was 1980. Because 1980, I remember that year, because that was the first time the Pacers made the NBA playoffs, and they lost 2-0 to the Sixers when they used to have the little mini series at the start of the playoffs.
Yes, that's right. But no, just really, really good. And I didn't realize that she actually signed with them. But does she still have any affiliation with that organization, Mike?
No, I think she was like the GM or the president of the Phoenix Mercury from the WNBA.
Oh, okay. So she got into that. Okay.
Yeah,
I lost track of that.
And I think that she's like a color analyst for the Phoenix Suns TV broadcast. And I bring this up, and it's only because of you that I know this, because you bet on the Suns like a week or two ago, and I actually watched the game, and I think that she was the female voice on the show.
On that broadcast, yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me. She just has stayed in the game, and she's done a lot of charitable stuff, like I said, and really, really cool. And she went through a lot, how she lost her husband, and that was a big deal. And there was a lot of, sentiment. I know Vince Scully had her in the booth and talked to her, and that'd be kind of cool to hear that. And, what's kind of interesting, too, is we talk about Vince Scully almost like he's passed away. He's still alive.
Yeah, and he could probably still do games if he needed to.
He could, and it's just amazing how he did it so long, and you just almost think like, okay, he's gone from us. I mean, all those years, like, before TV and these packages and everything, you had to listen to the games on the radio.
Oh yeah, you get Ernie Harwell or Marty and Joe in Cincinnati, Jack Buck in St. Louis, Mel Allen in Philadelphia.
Yeah, you're a kid. I mean, even to this day, I have to be listening to something as I'm falling asleep. So I'll put on podcast now, or I'll put on something YouTube game that I'm falling asleep to. But back in those days, it was Dodger games. You fall asleep to the Dodger game.
Yeah, and what's weird? Still to this day on YouTube, they've got a lot of the old MLB radio broadcast, and there's a lot of nights where I have a hard time falling asleep, and I'll pull up like a 1976 Reds and Expos game with Marty and Joe, and fall asleep that way still to this day.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Right.
Yep, and I'm sure there's so many people listening that understand exactly what that is. It's amazing how we do that.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I would remind you to go to the SheridanReport.com. You can buy the Sheridan Report. You can have it the night before the games, $10 a day or $50 for the month. You can follow Bobby Sheridan at Sheridan Report. Make sure you go to MyBookie.Ag through thegruelingtruth.net. Click on the banner at the top of thegruelingtruth.net to get up to a $1,000 cash bonus on your first deposit. Want to remind everybody, we'll be back at noon tomorrow for Survive in Advance with Brian Ralph from Fansided Busting Brackets to recap tonight's NCAA championship game. And then, of course, me and Bobby will be back tomorrow to make you a little bit of money, hopefully, and us too. So we're going to go ahead and wrap the show up for now. We will see you tomorrow, or you can hear us tomorrow. We're not going to see you. But you can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Bobby Sheridan, I'm Mike Goodpastor. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.